Hey y'all, it's Kobe R. Rice, and I'm back again for another weekly creative update. I'm a little under the weather, if you can't tell. My voice was a lot more nasally this morning, but it's gotten a little better over the course of the day. My energy is still, kind of flatline, but I'm working on it. So if I don't have as much pizzazz and oomph, please don't judge me. Just love me, because I am getting over a really gnarly cold, which is kind of crazy and weird because like I haven't, considering the fact that I have like a child, a whole child in daycare. I haven't gotten sick for like the past 6 to 8 months really, and that's been like glorious. But I guess this is maybe one of those colds I hadn't gotten yet, so that's why I'm like a little bit mellow today. But I will try to keep the energy up as much as I possibly can because there are some really exciting things happening, and I just want to make sure that we are on time and on schedule as usual. So again, I'm sorry that this update is late. It's because I wasn't feeling good, but also because I've been working a lot on the marketing and book launch for 2054. And I'll get more into that in just a second. But let me do my proper intro. So, welcome to episode number 69 of the epic fantastical journey of a Black female sci fi writer. I am Colby R. Rice, novelist, screenwriter, director, game writer, narrative designer, and builder slash CEO slash founder of Rebel Ragdoll, which is a multimedia empire in progress. And this week, I'm going to be just, again, as usual, giving you guys and myself an update and a summary of all the milestones, the creative milestones I've hit over the past week, but also, sort of sharing with you guys the quote creative lesson of the week, which I think is important actually, because in addition to me being physically under the weather, there have just been like some other things happening. Life happens. And, these particular situations, like if I were to kind of sit and like mellow in it and dwell on it, like could really make me feel down, could really make me feel like I'm not going to get to where I want to get to creatively, personally, etc. And so I am like in the midst of like not only fighting off this cold, but also fighting off like just potential negative thoughts, and trying to keep the my creative path, my career path, my future path clear and bright and shiny. So that's actually why I entitled this episode Choosing Happiness and Launching a Book, or book launches, whatever the title is going to be. Because I'm going to talk about like obviously writing, creativity, and publishing, and what the book launch preparation for my 2054 shared novel looks like. But I'll also be talking about how to continue to choose happiness as like not only an artist, but like as a person. So anyway, let's jump right into it with what was being done for this past week. So, as I started to say before, for 2054, I have been, and the rest of my team too. I mean, I don't want to say my team as though I'm the leader, like I'm one of four. But collectively, we've been kind of just busting our rumps on the preparation for the marketing and launch for the 2054 sci-fi anthology, which we're really excited about, we're really proud of. And first of all, just FYI to you guys, we do have a launch date. And that date is going to be Thursday, June 14th. So yay to us. Before the end of the first half of the year, Colby R. Rice has officially published yet another property. Thank goodness. With hopefully 2 more books coming out before the end of the year. So I'm crossing my fingers on that. But sort of get back to the marketing aspect of everything. We've been working on marketing. I, in particular, have been focusing on designing the sign-up form and pretty much heading up the newsletter swaps that we are going to be organizing with other authors to basically have these authors give us exclusive exposure to their mailing lists in exchange for exclusive exposure to our mailing lists. So just finished designing the final sign up form for that, which took a while because we needed a whole bunch of other different elements to be in place before the sign up form could be published, which included the actual upload of the book. So that's been finished. The other thing that we've finished, or that I've finished in particular, because this part of the project is my project, is the organization of a really kick-ass giveaway that we are using to help launch 2054. It is called the 2054 15 paperback giveaway, and we are giving away 15 sci-fi paperback novels, including a paperback copy of the 2054 anthology. So that's a really awesome giveaway, and we have a really lovely balance of some amazing male sci-fi writers, big names, and also some really amazing female sci-fi writers who are also big names. So we have some titles such as Altered Carbon, The Martian, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, N.K. Jemison's The Fifth Season, Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. We also have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and a whole bunch of other we have Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. So there are just some really amazing titles, and one lucky winner is going to have all of those titles delivered straight to his or her doorstep if they are chosen as the winner. But the great part of this giveaway, as with all of the giveaways that I organize, everybody who enters is a winner. And so everyone who enters will get a collection of sci-fi ebooks from the participating authors. So that includes myself, J.T. Lawrence, Yudhanjaya Wijaratne, and Jason Werbeloff. We've all decided to, put together a nice little bundle of our own novels to give away for free just for joining the giveaway. So even if you don't win the paperback, you still have three full novels, and then Jason is offering an entire novel length book of like short stories, which are really great, called Obsidian Worlds. So you get 3 full novels and 12 short stories, which is great. So all of those things are what I have been working on for the past week. So I did that. I finished the copy for our ad placements, which we're going to be running on Facebook and Amazon. I also finished the blurb for the Camille, actually, which I will share with you guys on this podcast at the end of the marketing segment. So don't let me forget that. Well, actually, I can't let me forget that because you guys can't actually speak to me right now. But I will read it to you guys at the end. What else? I also was in charge of, with some shared responsibility with another author, of formatting the ebook and the paperback version of 2054. So I really enjoy Vellum as an ebook and paperback formatting piece of software. It's incredible. It makes the process not only really easy, but really beautiful and just very professional looking. And I mean, Vellum is like the best money I've ever spent as an independent publisher and as an author. And I will not ever have to hire an interior designer like ever again. And it's great. No offense to interior graphic designers. You guys are great and you are very much needed, because Vellum can't do every single little design thing that you guys can do. But for the purposes of, for me, keeping it simple and straight to the point, Vellum just does fantastically. Sorry, guys. That's that cold again. So, excuse me. Okay. I also finished recruiting the ARC team for 2054 anthology. So I would have invited you guys to become a part of that ARC team had I posted this on Monday, but unfortunately I've already recruited a pretty big team of about 160 ARC readers. So they have volunteered to basically read the book, give early reviews, give later reviews, give honest feedback if they didn't find typos. And so that was exciting. So I did that as well. And so that was all what I did for 2054. What I did for my own personal brand, the Colby R. Rice brand, in terms of marketing, I basically, one, because I had sat that webinar or masterclass last week, which was basically telling, sorry guys, I'm still, again, it's that cold again, which was basically giving me a really awesome rundown of how to create the ultimate book marketing plan. I completely took my book marketing plan back to basics. And I think I talked about this on not the last podcast, but maybe the podcast before or something like that. And but this past week was when I actually finished rebooting my entire marketing plan, and I'm actually really excited about that. It's about 30 pages long, and I go into not just my writing goals and my writing plan, but my distribution plan, the actual sort of year-long plan as to when I wanted to write books and then launch books. And then I actually, based on all the information that I've gotten from Alinka Rukovska's 100 review book launch and J.A. Huss's The Perfect Year marketing course, based on those two courses, I created my own personalized 45-day book launch plan. And I was trying to keep it to a 30-day launch plan, but honestly, realistically, I would need 2 weeks to get all of the graphic design stuff done, all of the ARC recruitment done, all of the ad copy and just general copy done. All those things I know I can't necessarily do during the actual 30-day launch period. So I added 2 more weeks to the entire book launch schedule. So instead of it being a 30-day book launch, I turned it into a 45-day book launch, which, seems long to some people, but honestly, and when you're launching a book, things go so quickly and they come so hard at you that the launch period literally goes like that. With the snap of your fingers, the launch period is over, and you're exhausted, but you would have had a great launch. So that's basically what I'm trying to do in the future for Hollow Point, and also for the first book of the Hitmen of Happily Ever After series, Rose and John Doe's. So I definitely worked on that, rebooted that. It was a really great exercise and also just helped me practically to get my business in order. And then I did another thing which I've been waiting to do all year, which is call my email list. So you guys know that I had over 20,000 subscribers on my list from all of the promotions that I did last year. And that was great. And I was feeling super confident about it. And I am still super confident about it. But then I really had to ask myself the question of quality versus quantity, and really look at who was opening my emails, who was engaging, who was, really just becoming happy fans, if not super fans. And so I ended up cutting my entire list down by almost half. I would say I unsubscribed today 45% almost of my list. So now, instead of having over 20,000 people, I now have nearly 12,000 people, which actually is not that bad when you think about, who's opening and reading my emails. I mean, that means that 12,000 people have read at least one of my emails in the past 4 months. And so how I did that, just FYI for those of you who want to call your own email lists and improve your marketing, I basically decided that if you hadn't opened any of my emails in the past 3 months, then you probably weren't going to open any of my emails for the year to come. And so I looked at those people who hadn't opened my past emails in the past 3 months, but then I also made sure to exclude people who had just recently subscribed, and to try to exclude people who had previously been reading my emails a lot, but then who just decided not to anymore. A lot of times, as I'll notice, some people are really into you and into your brand, but like life happens, like they end up traveling, or they lose their jobs, or they're hospitalized, or God forbid somebody passes away, or even a happy thing happens, like they get married, or they had a baby, so they're not checking any email for like a year, you know. And so you want to make sure that you're not taking your fans who are currently on hiatus off of your email list, you know? So before I deleted everybody off the email list, I made sure to send them an email, and it was a very inventive, email with lots of links to Boys to Men songs, which I thought were really, I don't know, like I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I've never gotten an email from an author whose emails I hadn't been opening that was like as inventive. I think I've maybe seen like one email that was like that, but I basically pretended as though like the reader was a lover that had broken up with me, and so I was listening a whole bunch of Boys to Men songs, asking them to come back, and I got actually a really great response from that culling email from readers who either really loved it and they were entertained by it, or who were so entertained that they decided to stay on the email list. So yeah, I just really enjoyed doing that part of it, making the whole culling process a more enjoyable, lighthearted process, and rather than feeling as though 9,000 of my subscribers had rejected me. And that's not the case, guys. It's not really straight out rejection. Some people really don't like you, don't like being on your email list, but other people just don't connect with you, or they don't connect with your writing, or just don't have the bandwidth for you, and that's totally fine. So I'm really this year, I'm focusing on quality versus quantity in terms of my mailing list. And I really also want to make sure that I am forming the tight, intimate connection with my readers that they deserve, and that is fulfilling for all parties involved. Because ultimately, more so than having a wide fan base, I really want to have an engaged, excited, amped fan base that's just happy to hear from me. So I ended up doing that. I feel like I let like a lot of like dead weight go, and I kept about, of the 9,000 people around that, actually I think it was more like 7,500, but I'm going to keep it at 9,000. I like keeping it at like a nice even number. Of the 9,000 people I let go, like 100 of them had decided to stay on the mailing list. So I got those few hundred and put them on the lifeboat, and then everybody else I said goodbye to. So now with the 2054 anthology, I'll be pushing that pretty hard to my mailing list, now my 11,500 plus mailing list, and seeing how they like it, seeing how they enjoy it, seeing how the ARC team reacts to it. There's one part of my story, which is called The Camille, by the way, that I really would like to change in the future and upgrade on, but, we'll see what happens. In any case, let me read you guys the actual blurb for The Camille. It's very short because we didn't really have all that much room. All right, The Camille by Colby R. Rice. Some toys just shouldn't be played with. When tech genius and mogul Andrea Donick Ramoni invited the sex bot into her marriage bed, she knew it would be trouble. What she didn't know was that it would also be murder. There you go, guys. Not even going to give you more than that, all right? Again, I'm going to tell you straight up, and this is not a pre-apology for the story or anything like that, but this was a very challenging story to write because it was just a very different way of writing. I pretty much pantsed this story all the way through and then edited for logic, consistency, and seamlessness, which you guys know I'm a hardcore plotter, and I really have like a 1,000,000-step process to plotting out my stories. I'm really into rich, multi-dimensional, fully realized worlds and characters, and because I didn't have time for all of that for this story, a lot of the Camille story comes very raw. And so yeah, I'm just gonna say that it's very raw, it's very fast-paced. There's a lot of action, which I love. But I also, as I had mentioned before, feel like it is the starting material, the raw material for a pilot for like a larger TV series. And that's really all I'll say about that for now, actually, without, completely we're beating the dead horse. But I hope you guys enjoy it. The ARC team has its copy of 2054, including the Camille right now. They're reading it, they're going to review it. And that launch date for the book is on June 14th. I was going to say 2054, but no, it's on June 14th, 2018, this year, next month. And we will be offering it for a very special price starting June 18th. So just, keep your eyes and your ears out for any future announcements, excerpts, snippets from my story, etc. in the future. I will be at some point posting a very small excerpt of the Camille to give you guys a little taste of what's coming. So keep your eyes open for that. And of course, make sure you join the giveaway in the description below, because you will get a free prize, or a set of 4 free prizes rather, even if you don't win the 15 paperbacks. So that's just an FYI to you guys. Okay. TV writing, I haven't really been able to get any of that done this week, to be honest with you. I am woefully behind on my TV writing goals, mostly because, again, I've been under the weather. But as I mentioned in the last podcast, I've laid out the entire first month of our TV writing process and our syllabus and our independent study course for myself and my colleagues. So that's really exciting. We're still meeting on Friday. And my colleague is really, really into all of this stuff, and I am too, but she's probably going to have to lead the discussion for Friday, being that I'm dragging. But we'll see what happens before that meeting. But still very much into wanting to do Pendragon, and maybe I'll even get the Ezekiel series penned in script format and teleplay format this summer. We'll see what happens. But yeah. So writing, the same thing. I've been focusing mostly on marketing, to be honest with you. Again, that deep focus, it has its benefits, but it has its drawbacks. The benefits are that I'm pretty much done with the bulk. And when I say bulk, I mean like 95% of the marketing work for 2054. I'm done with it. But then that means that I spent the past week focusing mainly on marketing and recuperating, as opposed to writing and stuff like that, which I'm trying to turn around. But so I finished, though, over 700 words for Rose and John Doe's. Again, that first book in the Hitmen of Happily Ever After series. I like how it's looking and sounding so far. It's very raw and sexy, and I like it. The story and the premise continue to evolve, which is great. But that's pretty much all I got done in terms of writing for this past week, is that writing on that novel. The creative uni, I was able to sort of get done because all I had to do was pretty much lay there or sit there and listen to these courses. But I finished the No, I did not finish the Publish Your Thing course. I'll get to that in a second. I finished the Perfect Story course by J.A. Huss. I keep talking about J.A. Huss. I will not stop talking about her because she's excellent. She's amazing. And she's a G. But she did the Perfect Year marketing course for book marketing, which completely revolutionized the way that I think about marketing. And then she also did the Perfect Story course, which didn't necessarily revolutionize the way I think about story, because I think she and I have done probably a similar amount of study with regard to how to write a story, independent study, I mean. But she did still, because she's J.A. Huss and she's amazing, provide some really interesting insights from her own perspective and how she puts together her own stories. And that's where I really found the value in the course. I wouldn't call myself a veteran writer, but as an experienced writer who's written stories before and who constantly plots out stories and studies story structure and character and world building. Like, I actively study those things. A lot of what she was saying, I think, would be probably the most beneficial to people who have not embarked on an intensive study of those things. but it doesn't mean that more experienced or more learned writers can't learn from the course. If for nothing else, it's a great refresher course as to what you need to be doing during your story and for your story. On top of that, like I said, because she comes at it with her own perspective, she basically brings a lot to the table and a lot of information that only she, as J.A. Huss, can bring to the table. So that to me is worth its weight in gold, in my opinion. And I really enjoyed sitting through her course, which apparently is perpetually free. So if you haven't checked out The Perfect Story by J.A. Huss or The Perfect Year by J.A. Huss, you're pretty much missing out on a really amazing, comprehensive learning package for starting and intermediate indie authors. And I don't know what you're doing. You should just turn this podcast off and go study that right now. I also continue delving back into the Publish Your Thing course. I haven't finished that as quickly as I wanted to this week, again, for reasons already stated. But I did, because there's so many worksheets and so many like handouts to kind of print and collate, I did do a lot of that this week while going through a couple of the bonus courses, but there's nothing major moving on that front, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. For the Bohemian Badass, that's kind of linked again with the Publish Your Thing course. I spent a lot of time this week brainstorming and generating content, blog, and cornerstone piece ideas for the Bohemian Badass, as a part of a Publish Your Thing exercise, but also as a part of rebuilding and revamping and rebooting the Bohemian Badass. So the exercise has been very helpful in generating lots of content ideas, including blog posts, vlog posts, tutorials, course ideas, book ideas, etc. And honestly, I'm nowhere near done with the generation of those ideas. Like, I literally generated about 30 articles, or rather article titles, just on the art of self-editing a novel. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of different parts of the craft that are important, like character design, plotting, writing description, how to break down scenes. I mean, if I could generate almost 30 articles, if not more, on just one aspect of the process, I can't imagine how many articles I have inside of me for all the other aspects. So that's been a really helpful exercise. Okay, so the last part of the sort of creative milestone update is, again, I get into self-care, which has been even bigger this week, being that, I need to recuperate. But since the last time I talked to you guys, I've still been engaging in like lots of just physical care and health, like lots of cooking, lots of, sticking to a healthier diet, definitely integrating more fruits and vegetables, and like, just following the guidelines of having half of your plate piled high with greens and fibers and veggies and stuff. And I've noticed a marked change in just how I feel and just everything else. And so that's been positive, really positive. Lots of exercise and toning, and that's been showing in my shoulders and my arms, my back, my legs, my abs, like pretty much everything, honestly. Although this week, I'm not going to lie, because I've been under the weather, I haven't been actively engaged in exercise. It's my personal philosophy, and it's always been this way, that when you are sick or you're not sleeping, that you should probably not overstrain your body. Like, maybe still get some exercise in, but like, not to the point where you're doing like high intensity workouts or crazy toning exercises. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I get sick, like my entire body like just drags. I go from being at 200% to like maybe 20%, and I can feel it. So if I push myself harder than like basic living, that is a challenge for me. Lots of rest, lots of naps, still working on getting a steady sleep schedule in there, as best as I can. Just doing what I can to get the sleep that I need. And then what I realized too is when you're making a major lifestyle change, like how much you're exercising, what you're eating, what you're drinking, etc., you do have to make adjustments. And I don't mean the obvious adjustments like I used to eat pies and cookies and now I don't. But also just adjustments wherein you're trying to figure out what the ideal diet looks like, what the ideal amount of exercise looks like versus what you can actually do and what you're willing to do and what you're ready to do. I was talking about this with a friend, so I'll give you this quick, speedy anecdote that he was saying that, well, we were both talking about like changing diets and how changing diets plus exercise helps to make the body healthier and to make the body more fit. And he made a great point because we were both on the same page. He said that right now I'm just working on diet because my body is not ready to engage in such a heavy exercise load, you know? And I completely understand that 1000%. And so, you know, for most fitness instructors or most programs out there, you're going to hit the diet and the fitness all at once, right? And like kind of shock the body into going from like a sludgy couch potato into, you know, Greek god mode. And that doesn't work for everybody. For some people, like you need to be gradual and you need to make steady changes. And for others whose bodies are not really up to the point of being able to do that heavy exercise, you need to change your diet first, you know, get down to the size that you need to in order to better support your body when your body becomes more active in exercise, or vice versa. Like maybe you have a really, really bad sugar addiction, but you can jog, you know, 5 miles a day. Maybe it's better for you to focus on the exercise and then teeny bit by teeny bit by teeny bit reduce the sugar in your diet or the coffee or the smoking or whatever it is you're trying to tackle. Because old habits die hard, man. And that's really real. So I have to say, like, when you're getting into self-care, artistically and personally, I think it's good to hold yourself to really high standards, but then realize where you need to make those appropriate adjustments. Not only because your body needs steady adjustments, but also it helps you to keep your morale, and it makes you feel like less of a failure. Like if you have a great, you know, eating pattern one day and the next day you splurge on some fried chicken, sometimes that can come with like a lot of heavy guilt. And so, you know, you just have to sort of figure out what you can do without and what you can't do without and what things can be weaned off gradually. So, anyway, this is not a health show, but I do feel as though health is a big part of becoming, not even becoming an artist, but maintaining yourself as an artist, because, you know, we want to try to be around for a long time, right? In order to get our work out into the world and build our legacies. So I think that health and thinking about health should be a really big part of that. And so I'm giving my insights on basically being healthy as an artist and as a person. And as a matter of fact, I think I will on the Bohemian Badass site, because that's where I will be teaching more about what I know about art, whether that's writing, publishing, screenwriting, filmmaking, etc. I will definitely have an artist and money site, or artist and money section, and also an artist and health section, because I'm just becoming more and more convinced that those two parts of an artist's life are pretty much just as integral as studying story structure and marketing. I just feel that way. I can't imagine an artist trying to build a sustainable long-term business without considering money and without considering his or her health and self-care. I just, you know, so I feel like that's an important part of being an artist that people tend to ignore, but I will not be ignoring it at the Bohemian Badass. Okay, so let's get into the challenge for this week. And this is going to get, you know, kind of personal. I'm not going to lie. Personal without being too revelatory, because you have to maintain some level of privacy in your life, even if you're trying to, you know, do public journals, like the way that I do my public journals, or you're trying to lay out a journey so people can see it and look at it and maybe be inspired by it if it's inspiring. But, there are some things that hit a little too close to home and are a little too messy to be talking about, just putting your stuff on blast. But I will say very vaguely that this week has been a challenge because there have been a lot of things external to my creativity and to my art that have been happening that might potentially end up determining where I get to be geographically in my life and in the world. And I've been just honestly kind of down about it, to be honest. And the recent situation has made me call into question whether or not I'll ever fully be able to reclaim the life that I've always wanted. The life that I was heading towards in the beginning of 2013 to like the middle of 2013. Like, will I ever be, on that path again, or at least parallel to that path? And I'm willing to be flexible and to make changes to my plan, but I'm not willing to do a complete 180. I am willing to, maybe do, like, I'm heading north, and instead of going north, I have to go northwest or northeast or northwest west or northeast east. But I'm not going south or southwest or southeast. Like, I'm heading north. I'm keeping my heading. And recent situations have really made me question whether or not I'll be able to do that. And so, again, without going into it too much and being too messy in public, I just have been asking myself, will I ever be completely free? Will I ever be able to make my career dreams come true and my personal dreams? Like, I love my career, or the career that I'm trying to build as an artist, rather. I love being my daughter. I love being my daughter's mother. She's amazing. I love the person I am and the people who are in my life for the most part. I really do. But I sort of wonder sometimes when certain things are happening, how much do I have to continue laying in this bed that I made? Again, without being too specific about the particular bed I'm talking about. And so what I've been doing is thinking about how, our external situations have often come to kind of cloud our vision of the future, and what we can do to stop that from happening. Because ultimately, one's feelings and one's sense of despair and sadness, one sense of lethargic or lethargy. I never really knew how to pronounce that word. I consider myself to be a pretty learned woman, but lethargy, anyway, your sense of just stuckness is just a feeling. It's not necessarily a fact. And that in itself is a fact, right? And so I often end up thinking to myself, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling in despair about my future as an artist and as a person. But what is feeling? What is fact? And what do I really know? And oftentimes taking that perspective really, really helps me. I have to keep leaning into that every single day, or whenever I'm thinking about a situation and getting sad or upset about it, I have to continue to remind myself that what I'm feeling is not fact, and that the future is not set, and anything can change at any time. And that in itself tends to give me some hope, even if hope is really hard to hold on to. And I think as artists, when we feel as though, oh, I'm never gonna be able to make a living off of my writing, or I'm never gonna be able to travel and do what I want to do, or I'm never gonna be able to be a career person and, have a family, or I'm never gonna be able to, like stand shoulder to shoulder with the giants of my industry, etc. Honestly, guys, we don't know what the hell the future holds. We really don't. And my life in particular has taught me to never ever assume what is going to happen in the future. Even though, to a certain degree, I still keep assuming and I still keep hoping. And I do keep making plans for the future now. I think that's still important to keep your eye on the prize, but you never really know what the future holds for you. And so being afraid of the future kind of doesn't make any sense, logically. It's like you're afraid of what's in the void, but you can't see what's in the void. And yeah, very well, like something could be waiting in the void that is very bad for you, but then something could be waiting that's very good for you, or both, because life ends up being a sort of weird combination of both good and bad for the most part. And it really just depends on how you see all your situations. That will determine whether or not you are living your best life, not just physically, economically, and artistically, but emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. So that's the perspective I try to maintain. And I guess you can file all of that perspective under what I call choosing happiness, right? Because things can be going pretty crappily in your life, but if you're constantly taking stock of all the wonderful things that are happening, just like in my life, there have been so many wonderful things that are happening or that have happened. I have an amazing daughter. I have my health. She has her health. I have my family. For example, I was fortunate enough to celebrate a Mother's Day recently where both my moms and my stepmom are still alive and well. And God willing, I'll be able to celebrate a Father's Day with both of my father and my stepfather alive and well. Whereas I can't say that for everybody in the world right now. And, I was feeling that particular gratitude on Mother's Day, but I was also feeling, the loss and the sense of loss from so many people in my life, and just even on my Facebook timeline, who have not been able to enjoy the day because their mothers have passed or they never knew their mothers. And so just something that seems so trivial to me is a huge deal, and is a gratitude that I should not take for granted. The fact that I can call my mom, I called her today. I can call her at any time as of now and talk to her and tell her I love her and get her advice. And there's some people in the world who never had that opportunity or who will never have that opportunity ever again. And so when you really start to itemize and think about the things you should be grateful in this life for, all these other negative things happening in your life are still impactful. They're still negative. They're still valid, but they become very quickly balanced out with your happiness and your gratitudes. That's just one of the many things I'm grateful for. Family, health, love, my familial love. Just also like not going along with health, like physical health, like my mental health. I think artists, despite the fact that we get the reputations of being broke and over emotional and kind of dramatic, I think we're in a lot of ways blessed to have the kind of mental power and spiritual power to do what it is we do. I mean, it takes a lot of balls, and it also takes a lot of smarts, and I think intelligence and creativity and imagination to be an artist. I mean, literally, and this is not me patting myself on the back, but I'm designing 3 worlds right now, 3 whole entire separate worlds that exist in entirely separate ages and decades. I've created a language for one of these worlds, civilizations, cultures, religions, economic and political systems, histories, entire plots, characters, character backstory. Just even in the way that people, some of my characters talk and carry themselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the preparation for the novels that I write. Then you have to like put all these things together in a way that makes sense in a novel, and get the mechanics of dialogue, narration, and all these literary devices on point. I mean, it takes a lot of brain power and a lot of just smarts and intuition. And you have to, in my opinion, you have to be grateful for the capacity, the mental capacity and the emotional capacity to do these things. If you're not grateful for your mind as an artist, then you don't deserve to have a mind as an artist. Like, you're wasting your mental power, or rather your mental power is wasted on you. And I don't know what to tell you. You need to get it together and be more grateful for what's happening in your life. So that's one of the other many gratitudes I think about. And that's not even getting into the basics like food, water, shelter, clothes, shoes, like, warmth, like being able to be warm when I'm cold and then being cold when I'm warm, like as opposed to having to suffer through, the whims of Mother Nature, just a lot of things that, again, I think we need to really think about before we start saying, woe is me, woe is me. And that's not even thinking about, and I won't run through all of them again, but the things that I've accomplished creatively, this just the first 4 months of the year, if not over the past 2 years since I've, been on, my own and reestablished my independence. Like, like I counted up, I've directed 5, theater shows. I've finished out the second of my 3 years as like a grad student for my second advanced degree. I wrote a musical, for goodness sakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are so many wonderful things happening. And so because of those things, I'm trying to focus on all those things and choose my happiness. And I want you guys to really, I'm not a guru. And I'm not an expert in anything except for myself, I guess. But I still want to encourage you guys to choose your happiness too. To choose to be happy no matter how the situation is going. Or if there's a situation that's crappily done. Not crappily done. That didn't come out right. Again, I'm tired. But there's a situation where, things are crappy, or you feel stuck, or things are going downhill, and you have to make a choice, or you're feeling trapped. Choose to be happy, even if that means you have to leave that situation. Like, choose your happiness, yeah, you gotta choose to be happy. We don't have that much time here on this planet, like all the things here, God willing, will probably outlive most of us by a few thousand years. And if it doesn't outlive us by a few thousand years, it doesn't matter, because it's going to outlive us by however long, because nobody lives forever. But, in like the time that the earth has been here, and of all the people who have come and gone on this planet, a lot of us don't really last that long. A lot of us, go away or pass on at anywhere between like 50 to 80 years old. And that's not really that much time. I mean, for me personally, the years fly by super fast. And I want to make sure I'm spending that time in the way that is the most productive, but also the most happy and the most fulfilled and the most joyful. And so I'll end this podcast by leaving you guys with those words, to like choose your happiness. If there's something you love to do, go do that thing, even if everything else is crumbling around you. Like Neil Gaiman says, when life explodes, make your art. If there's someone that you love, go be with them, whether that's a family member, a friend, a lover, a past lover, go be with that person, you know, choose happiness. Because if you don't choose happiness, I don't know how happiness is going to choose you. I just don't understand how that's going to happen for you if you don't make that obvious choice. So take care of yourselves, dear artists, dear off-worlders, dear badasses. Choose your happiness. I hope you guys took something inspirational away from this. I really hope I can come back to you guys next Monday on time and not sniffling, not sounding nasally, and actually feeling at the top of my game. But I will definitely be back next week, or inshallah, as they say in Arabic, with another update as to what I got done for this past week. And hopefully that will include a lot of writing, a lot of world building, and a lot of TV series designing under my belt. Okay, so you guys take care of yourself. Stay indie, stay badass, keep creating, and I will talk to you guys next week. Mwah. Bye. Choose happiness. Peace.